Welcome, welcome everybody. I see a few people filtering in already. Welcome to our Thursday webinar that we've got here for you on custom blog pages. Hope you're excited to learn a few things. Welcome wherever you are in the world. While we're all filtering in, I'll give it a couple of minutes, as always, just let a few people come in. Oh, we have a few. Oh, in fact, that's my colleague Jerry saying hello from Seattle, Washington. Hi, everyone. If you're coming in and just settling down, please feel free to drum up a bit of chatter in the chat section. Tell us where you're from, where you're tuning in from. Grab your cup of tea or coffee, depending on how early it is in your part of the world. A couple of minutes, I'll go through some housekeeping things around here, just to get us started before we dive into the main presentation. Hello from Tulsa, Andrew. We've got Mark from Washington. Hi. If you couldn't tell from my accent, I am in the UK. I'm very much British, where it is currently absolutely freezing cold and frosty. So trying to keep warm, hence the jumper, the sweater, the hoodie. All right, while we're all filtering in here then, let me go ahead with a few of those housekeeping bits. So we have our fireworks here on our screen, which is always an exciting thing. So it's webinar time. Welcome everybody to our WordPress.com webinar on custom blog pages. My name is Georgina. Hello everybody. I'm a happiness engineer here at WordPress.com. If you've ever had a WordPress.com site and you've been in live chat, or you've contacted us by email, at some point possibly, there are quite a few of us, but at some point possibly I may have chatted with you in the past. But I'm glad to see you here, and I'm hopefully going to teach you a few awesome tips and tricks to do with displaying your blog posts on your site. Let me scroll down here. So we have this up on the screen. While you're here in Zoom today, by all means, please go ahead and use the chat function to chat to each other if you would like. However, if you have any questions as everything goes along, please go ahead and use the Q&A function. You'll find it here in Zoom, and just any questions you have relating to the presentation, please drop them in there just so we can keep them contained and organized and we don't lose anybody in the whole back scroll of chat, I guess, if you like. And my colleague Jerry is here with me today in the Q&A section and in the chat, in fact, just taking a look over what you have to say and answering some of your questions. But if at the end of the presentation there are any other questions left in the Q&A, I will see what I can do about demoing and answering them for you. But if we don't get to your question at any point today, please don't worry. We will do our best with our fingers of fire and my demoing skills, but we will do our best. But if there's any that we can't get to, please don't worry. What you can do is email us at help@wordpress.com, which is how you get in touch with us happiness engineers in general. If you have an issue, let us know your question and we'll always be happy to answer it there. Let's see, we've got a few more hellos in the chat box. I'm going to have a quick peek before I get started because I'm very, very curious. Let's see. I have a few people saying they're not able to hear me. I'm not muted, so can I get just a quick thumbs up or yes in the chat if you can hear me? That would be awesome because I can see. Great. Thank you so much. In that case, sorry to anyone who's not able to hear me. I'm not sure what might be going on there. I hope Zoom's not hiccuping or anything like that, but if it continues, apologies for that. We'll see what we can do. All right, so with all of that in mind, shall we go ahead and get started with our custom blog pages presentation? You can see I've got our beautiful presentation open right here, and I'm going to go ahead and dive straight into it. So, custom blog pages, how to create personalized displays of blog posts within the WordPress block editor. That is what we're taking a look at today. So as we're diving into this for the first time then, or perhaps not the first time, maybe you've seen this webinar before and you're here for a refresher, which is also totally fine. Let's start with the most fundamental question we have here, which is, what even is a blog page? That is a great question. Before I start clicking through these slide points, if you have an answer of your own as to what a blog page is exactly, if you could sum it up into a sentence, please drop that in the chat. We always love hearing your definitions of what that means to you. So what is it exactly? As the name suggests, it is a page on your site that displays a list of your published blog posts. It's like a feed, if you like, where your blog posts display, and it can be done in a few different ways. By default, it's also really good to know that each theme that we have on WordPress has a simple built-in template for displaying your posts. So there is always, with every single template, you will have a blog post page template, but if that's not your style, if you don't like the way it's laid out, that is totally fine. Part of this presentation that we're going to do for you today, and some of the demo points that we'll do, is showing you how you can use the power of WordPress blocks to kind of organize your posts in different ways using things like a blog post block and various other things that come along with the WordPress tools. I've got ahead of myself. You can also create custom lists of blog posts using the WordPress block editor. So yes, if you apply a theme to your site, by default, it will come with a blog post template. If you don't like it, that's okay. You can create your own custom layout using our blocks, which are always at your disposal. And even better, please don't be scared. Please don't worry that there's any coding or web design skills needed for this. There really aren't. All of our blocks are very powerful behind the scenes, so you don't have to worry about things breaking, hopefully, most of the time, and they will do the work for you. You just have to apply the blocks to your site and kind of work around with things and see what layouts you like best. So with that in mind, what are the different ways that we can display blog posts? So as we've mentioned here, you have the posts page template, which is included in your theme. The layout may be slightly different depending on the theme that you're using, but usually, I would say almost always, there will be a default template for your posts included with your theme. Now, here's where we get to the fun and juicy and interesting stuff. There are several blocks that you can use here, and I will go ahead and mention that some of these blocks are only available with WordPress.com. I know some of you here may be joining us from self-hosted WordPress, WordPress.org if you like. I'll mention this as we come along to each point, but some of these blocks aren't available within self-hosted WordPress, but there are alternatives that you can use in terms of plugins, but we'll come back around to that. One of the blocks that you can use is called the post carousel, which kind of, as it describes, is literally a carousel of posts, and it can be a very beautiful way to show off your posts, especially if there are some really beautiful images that you'd like to show off in a sort of scrolling form. Awesome for that, really, really good. You can also set up a brand new page if you don't like that default post template that you had. You can set up a brand new page and you can add the blog posts block, which I will also demo for you in a little bit. That can be arranged in several different ways and different formats, depending on how many posts you would like to show in a row, for instance, but I'll show you how that works in just a moment. And then we have something that sounds kind of technical, but I'm hoping to break it down for you so that it's a bit more understandable. We have the query loop block. I know that sounds very developer-y and codey, but please don't worry. It is a powerful block. It is a customizable block, but I'll show you how you can use it to display your posts once again on a new page, however you would like. So now we get to the super interesting and exciting stuff. I'm going to go ahead and demo just a quick little look at what we are planning to build today, hopefully. I am going to move my face out of the way of my browser and hopefully the Zoom tools as well. I'm going to go over here. In fact, no, I think I'm going to go to my home page because I want to show you exactly what a post carousel block looks like. So Here we go. This is the homepage of my demo site that my colleague has created for the purposes of showing you how blog posts or blog related blocks work, I suppose. Now we've got it all set up and it covers two of my personal favorite things. I know they're also her favorite things, cats and coffee. If you've ever seen a webinar presented by me before, I really enjoy putting cats on demo sites. So this speaks very closely to my heart. So if we scroll down here, we've got our front page, our home page, I suppose, layout all set here. And you'll see here, we have a section latest from the blog. And you can already see we've got a few posts here scrolling along automatically. I'm not touching them, but this is the post carousel block. And what I'm going to do in just a minute is show you how to get that set up and how to get that all working on your site. What you will also remember we mentioned is the blog posts block. And I believe if I've set this up correctly, hopefully I have, if I go to the blog link right here, and I'm going to open it in a new tab, this actually uses a blog posts block, and I'll show you how to add that as well. It's not a problem, as well as all of the settings and features that go along with this block that you can, create your own layouts with. So that is the blog post block. And there are just a ton more options we can explore in those related blocks and other customizations. So brief little preview for you of what we're going to take a look at. Let's go back to our presentation. So you remember we talked just now about the standard default template that comes with most, if not all, themes. That is the default posts page. So I won't focus too much time on this because the whole sort of theme of our webinar today is seeing how you can customize the way you show your blog posts, right? So what I will do is show you what the default post page looks like for this theme, and also briefly run through how you can set a blog post page, just so you have the idea there for you. So what I'm going to do, I have some notes here that I totally forgot. Yes, the post page is included in your theme by default. We already know that. I think I've said it about 3 times already. And the design is predetermined and it cannot be easily customized. So essentially, how do I explain this? Essentially, the blog post template is dictated by your theme and it's not really editable, which is why we're looking at other options today. Newer themes may be an exception here. Perhaps also third-party themes may have ways to change the settings and edit small features of your default post page. But as a whole and in general, I would say it's mostly predetermined and can't be changed. And it's also, yes, very important to note that it will display your blog posts, as you would imagine, and it will always be from newest to oldest. And you don't have to do anything manually here, especially with the default blog post template, because whenever you publish a new post and it's published, it's there on your live site, your blog post page, the default one, will automatically show that newest post at the top. So you don't have to go into that page or change anything. It will all happen automatically in that way. Haha, I preempted it. The new posts are added automatically as you publish them. So it's good to reiterate always. So once again, you don't have to worry about the default post page. If you have one, just publish your post and it would then appear automatically at the top of that page. But then, it's on the balance of you can post it and it will appear automatically, but the customization might not be there in the same way that these various blocks will allow you to do so. So with that in mind, we have another demo. So what I'm going to do is show you what the default blog page looks like for this theme. And then I'll just briefly show you how to set a blog post page on your site. There are a couple of different ways, and it can depend on the theme that you're using. So if you're eagle-eyed, you can see I have default blog page open here. And here we have it. So if I scroll down a little bit, you'll see we've got some absolutely adorable cats here. I'm going to scroll down, keep scrolling, but this is the default post template for this theme. And I believe this template uses the query loop block, which we will get to a little bit later. But you can see here, it's very one at a time, a single column, I suppose you could call it, of posts, and there's not much customization ability there. So now that we're aware of that, I'm just going to quickly run through how you would set a blog post page, and then we can move on to the really fun stuff of customizations and different blocks that you can use to display your blog posts. So if I go back to my general dashboard area, I should also point out here, if some of the things here don't look too familiar to you, if once again you're joining us from self-hosted WordPress, WordPress.org, you may have a slightly different dashboard, what we call the WP admin dashboard, which is also available on WordPress.com, but it's kind of towards the back end. But in any case, the general sort of idea of the tools is still the same. So hopefully you can still follow along with that. So in terms of briefly showing you how to set a blog post page, there are a couple of ways with this theme that we can do it. I'm just going to pick a blog. Let's go for this one, the one that just says blog. What I'm going to do is I'm going to, if you follow the green circle, you'll see there are 3 dots right here. If I go ahead and click this, you'll see here the option set as posts page, and you would just click that. That would set your default post page for your site and for your theme. And then once you click on the blog link, it will display your posts automatically, newest to oldest. What's another brief way that we can set the post page? I will show you. Instead of that, if you'd rather not do that, or if there's any reason that that option is not available to you, what you can do is you can go down here to settings. You can see me hovering over it there, and you want to go to reading and let it load. And you can see here, you've got a couple of options. You have a static page, which is what we have set now, our home page, but you also have the option to set a post page. And if I click on this drop-down menu, it'll show me all of my published pages, and you should hopefully have the page, the default post page, I suppose. On that list, you can click it and make it your post page and save those changes. One other thing, just to mention very briefly, that's quite interesting to know. By default, usually, you have your latest posts displayed on your site's homepage. When you first create a site with WordPress.com or whatever you choose, by default, a lot of the time, your homepage will show your latest posts, but that's okay. If you'd rather it doesn't, if you want a static page as your homepage, you can just follow this method. So you can go to settings and then reading, make sure a static page is set, choose your homepage, and then choose your posts page. Hopefully that's all making sense to you. Let me go back to my wonderful slide deck now. So that was a brief run through of the default blog page, but now let's get into some fun stuff. So the post carousel block that we saw on our homepage for this demo site, what does it do? How can we make it work for us? So essentially, it displays your blog posts as a slideshow, which is really, really awesome. Say, for instance, you have a bunch of posts with beautiful featured images that you want everyone to see and scroll along and be super impressed by your work. I would say the post carousel is an awesome way to, show people what you can do, what your blogs are all about, and draw them in with really cute pictures of cats. So it has options to feature selected blog posts only. What does that mean? Don't worry about it. I will show you in just a second. There's a lot of magic you can do with block settings, which is usually it will be the sidebar to the right of your block editor, but I'll show you what it can do in a minute, and you can choose to display posts based on category, author, a whole bunch of things. It's very, very customizable in that way. Yep, so once again, posts can be filtered based on category, tag, or author. If you have multiple authors on your site, for instance, great way to showcase a specific author if you would like. And it's also really interesting to note that it can display pages, testimonials if you have them, or portfolio projects if you have that ability enabled on your site. So quite a flexible block, it turns out. But I think we should go ahead and put it into practice. What do you say? So I knew there was a demo slide coming up. So let's go back to our main dashboard and let's find our version of the homepage where we can add a carousel block. So I'm going to go back to my pages section here. And I am going to go all the way down. You can kind of guess where all my demo pages are. I'm going to go to this one that says Home Carousel Demo. Because we've got right here, if it will load very, very slowly on a Thursday afternoon for me, we've got a version of the homepage that I showed you previously without the carousel block. So if I scroll down here, this should look somewhat familiar. You've got your introduction, you've got a subscribe box, which is, very good standard homepage content. But, why would a visitor come to your homepage and subscribe right away if they haven't even seen your blog post content yet? It's something that, you see occasionally. You've got your subscribe field right at the top, and then you just think, but what am I subscribing to? I don't know yet. I have no information to base my subscription on. Well, in this case, what I think I'm going to do to lure my visitors in is I am going to place, if I can scroll up a little bit, between this paragraph right here and above our subscription block. I think that's a great place for a post carousel block to show everyone what I've written and what they can expect from me in future posts and that kind of thing. So what I want to do here is I'm going to, if I hover over here, I think I want to add a post carousel block right over this spacer here. This is a spacer block, which, side note, is very handy if you want to add extra space between your blocks. Really, really handy. So I'm going to click that, and then I think, in fact, I might actually use the list view for this. It might be more useful for us. So I'm going to go up here to where it says document, not document overview. I want the list view, although the name seems to have changed. I'm going to go ahead and click on this. And the list view is super useful because it kind of shows in a hierarchical view all of the blocks that you have applied to a single page. I've gone very croaky suddenly. So you can see here, I've just selected the spacer block. You can see right here that it's highlighted. But above that, I want to add the carousel block. So I'm going to go ahead and click the three dots right here. There are a few ways you can add blocks, but let's go with this one. And I'm going to click Insert Before. And you see how that space opened up? Really, really handy. So now I can see I've got an empty paragraph block here and a spacer here, but what I actually want is a post carousel. So you can see right here, it says type / to choose a block. I'm going to do that. So /, and let's see how quickly post carousel comes up. So post there it is. Took a few letters, but here it is. The post carousel block is right here. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that. And as if by magic, it's showing our posts with the most recent one first. There is only one there currently, but don't worry, we're going to fiddle with all kinds of really cool settings to make this look a bit different. So what can we do here? Let's take a look at the width first of all. This is quite a narrow block. It's the standard width that you would get. If you want to make this wider, you totally can. What I would recommend you do if you want to do something like that is take a look at this toolbar right here. This has a lot of really handy sort of dimension settings for the post carousel block. I'm going to go ahead and click this one, which is for your alignment. And you can see it says none. So it's just kind of the default alignment. What I think I want is the wide width. So I'm going to go ahead and click that. And you can see it got a little bit wider, but when we see the preview of the page a bit later on, hopefully it will show it in its full majesty as we go along. So that's a really great option that you can use. Now, I mentioned earlier that there are block settings for the post carousel, for the blog post block, and it just helps you to customize the way your posts appear. Now you can see there, the sidebar to the right, there's a lot going on. So let's go and take a look over here. I'm going to close this list view so we can focus over here. So that's just a ton of stuff. So you've got your display settings here. I'm going to have a quick rundown of what we can do. You can choose specific posts. Say you didn't want to just choose to display posts by category, but specific posts and their titles. This would be really handy. If you toggle this on, you can start typing the title of your post and it will only display that post. You can get down to real specifics with this. So that's really handy. You'll notice that the rest of the settings disappeared when I did that. So let's go back and make sure those are visible again. You've got your number of items. It should say 3. And sure enough, you can see you've got your scrolling motion here. So 1, 2, 3. And you've got 3 posts. So you can increase this to, what's our max? All the way to 100. If you're super prolific and you have a ton of posts on your site, you can go up to 100 posts. Might be a bit slow loading if you do that, but the option is there if you would like to use it. Let's keep it to 3 if I can get it accurate. Probably not. No, it stopped on 4. Okay, there we go, 3 posts, and we'll keep editing how this looks. As I mentioned before, you can narrow down the posts that are showing by author, category, tag, whatever you like, really. So as you would expect on this site, our major categories are cats and coffee. So if I wanted to, let's see if we've got this available. Surely, of course, we have the coffee tag category even. So if we only want to show posts with the coffee tag, you search for the tag, choose it, and this display that you have right here will change to all of the posts, or I suppose 3 of the posts that have coffee as their category and that kind of thing. Hopefully that makes sense. And then we have all kinds of really interesting things here. You can change the aspect ratio of your slides here. We've got it 4:3. You can do all kinds of things, 16:9, 3:4. It's not changing in the preview, but it's good to know in any case if you are not a fan of the default aspect ratio there. You can also change the fit of the image if you would like. You can have it fill the entire slide, or you can resize it to stop it being cropped or stretched in any way, depending on how you would like to display them. You also have a couple of really cool things here. You can hide the controls of your slideshow. If you don't want your visitors to be clicking around and getting distracted, you can hide the controls. As if by magic, the arrows have gone and so have the little dots at the bottom. It's useful with autoplay. It even says so right here. It's kind of goes hand in hand, right? If you have autoplay on and you hide the controls, your visitors don't need to do anything. They can just sit back, watch your posts go past. So if autoplay is toggled on, your posts will scroll through one by one without any action needed from your visitors. Oh, there it goes while I'm talking. And then really minor details that you can change, the time between transitions in seconds. And here's a really interesting one that I want to change to make it look like our homepage that I showed you at the beginning, the number of slides to show at once. I want it to show 3 slides, oh, I can't talk, 3 slides like it did on the first version of the homepage. So I'm not even going to drag it. I'm going to use the arrows. I don't think I'll be able to get to 3. 1, 2, 3. See how that works? Really awesome. I can even 4. No, oh, it only does 3. I was going to say maybe I can make it do 4, but no, 3 at a time at a maximum. So this looks a bit more like what we had available on the first version of the homepage, right? You've got your 3 posts here scrolling along. I'm going to bring the controls back. I think that's useful to have. So you've also got all kinds of meta settings, depending on how much of your post you want to display for visitors while they're looking at your carousel. So if you don't want to show the title, you can turn that off. The date, the author, and just the pictures. But I mean, at that point, they won't know what they're clicking on. So it's good to have some meta settings on at least. Let's show the title and the date again. And that kind of thing. Post types you can change, as mentioned. You can have it display pages if you would like, but for the purpose of this, it's showing posts. So hopefully that gives you an idea of how we can add the carousel. I'm also going to add a title above this because it's just kind of showing our post and no one really knows what it is. So I am going to use these 3 dots. This is also very handy. If you have your carousel selected, you can click these 3 dots, choose Insert Before, and this time, instead of typing the / and choosing a block, I am going to add my heading block using this little icon. So go here. Oh, heading is already available here, so I'll click on that. And I am going to write latest from the blog. So now everyone knows what it is they're looking at. These are my recent posts. Great, I'm going to click through each one, see if I like the content, and then hopefully, fingers crossed, subscribe to the blog. So hopefully that gives you an idea of how the post carousel works. I'm going to go back to my slideshow here. So the other block that we have available that's really, really good for customizing the way your blog posts show is, funnily enough, the blog posts block. Now, it's worth mentioning here, and you can see it on the slide, that the block is only available on WordPress.com sites, but as I mentioned previously, there are alternatives for self-hosted WordPress users. So with the blog post block, you can display up to 100 blog posts in a list or a grid on any one of your pages. And very similarly to the post carousel block, you can filter your posts based on category, tag, or author, customize it in that way, narrow down what kind of posts your visitors see on that page. And this is where it's really cool and kind of increases the customizability of your blog. You can display featured images, excerpts from your posts, and you can change the style of the block itself and all kinds of things that I will be about to demo for you. And just like the carousel block, it can display pages, testimonials, or portfolio projects if you have those enabled. And with that said, surprise, surprise, we have another demo. So if you remember, I showed you earlier our blog page, not the default blog page, but a version of it with, you would have seen a grid of posts going along, 3 each, and I believe it was 3 down. That is the blog posts block. How do you add it? How do you make it look like that? I will be about to show you. So let's go back to our site over here. I'm going to not save those changes if they ask me. And I'm going to go all the way down here to our blog post block demo. The tongue twisters in these page names. Okay. And it is an absolutely blank page. That's great. I know blank pages are terrifying, but this is what we want because for now, at least, all we want on here is our blog posts block. So that's exactly what I'm going to add. You can see here you've got type / to choose a block. Let's try a third way to add a block to this page. So I'm going to click here and make sure that I have that area selected. And I'm going to go here to this blue plus sign. You can use any one of the methods I've shown you today to add a block to a page. That's not a problem. So let's go ahead and try this, block inserter. And I am going to search for the blog posts block. I said it correctly that time. So blog posts, here we go. It's highlighted here in blue. This is exactly what I want. So I will go ahead and click this and give it a second to think about what it's doing. And then I will close this because we have what we want. So similarly to the default blog page that I showed you earlier, all of our content here is showing in a single column, but that is okay because you can customize all of this to your liking, however many you want to show across or down. We're going to do all of that right now. So what have we got here in this toolbar? We've got a list view, which, I mean, it's nice, but we want to see more of the content in one go, right? So I'm going to go ahead and choose a grid view and let's see what happens. Amazing. There we go. That's it. It's getting more, at least, like what we had on the blog page. There are 3 across, and there is a ton of content here. Maybe too much for visitors to read, but we can customize that. If I keep going across the toolbar that we've got here, you can choose how media is displayed alongside your post content with the blog post block. So currently, your featured image for each of these posts is showing on top of the rest of the content. But you have the option to show it on the, oh, that's tiny, show it on the left, but for illustrative purposes, this is what it looks like. Show it on the right of your content as well. Or if you really want, you can show your media behind the text, which is actually kind of nice. I quite like that. But the point is we wanted it to look like the blog page. So let's go back to our original to show the media on top. But you see how you can customize the display in a way that the post carousel block cannot do. It's super cool in that way. And then we have the shape of the image. Depending on how you'd like it to show, you can have it landscape, and also depending on the original dimensions of your images. This is good to note. You can have it portrait, which may crop some of your images a little bit, depending on the dimensions. You can have them all be square, nice and uniform in that way. And you can also have them uncropped, which is a bit dicey if all of your images are different sizes, but good to know that it's there. Let's stick with landscape for now. And I'll give you a run through of the block settings that we have here. You can do all kinds of cool things with this. So you've got your default style. You can have borders, which kind of puts a line in between your content if you want a bit more of a visual distinction between your different posts that you're showing. Once again, you can choose specific posts. It works exactly the same way as the post content block does. If I toggle this on, all the other settings will disappear, and you can choose specific blog post titles to show here. Number of items is 3, all the way up to 100 posts, which we definitely don't have on this site. We'll stick with 3 in this case, if I can get it. I did, yes, perfect that time. You can narrow down by authors if you have multiple authors, categories, tags in the same way. Columns, perfect, we have 3. You can increase or decrease the gap between them. That's very close together. We want a bit more of a visual distinction. So we're going to have a larger gap. And I also, I think, want to show load more posts on this block here. This is really, really useful. You can find sometimes, especially if you do have 100 posts or more, or just quite a lot of posts in general, if you want to display the posts on your page, and there are a lot of them, it can really slow down the loading of that page. So using load more posts kind of staggers that a little bit. If I scroll down, here it is. So you have a few posts displaying in your block initially, and then if you click load more posts, it will load more posts. It's quite self-explanatory, but it kind of staggers the loading time of your content within that block. Then you've got a few more things here with your featured image settings. You can show your image or not, but we want to see pictures of cats, so let's do that. You can show the captions for your images if you would like. Lazy loading is useful for kind of, again, speed of your loading on your site. And just a ton of other things here. You can show the excerpt of your posts if you like. The excerpt is a short little chunk of your larger post, just like a tidbit to get people interested in what you have to say, and clicking read more to go through to the main post. So you can show that or not, and you can choose how many words are in your excerpt, that kind of thing. Talking of which, if you do have an excerpt, the read more link is another setting that kind of goes hand in hand with that. So you've shown them a chunk of what you have, but you want them to read more, right? So toggle this on, and you can see for all of the posts here, it says keep reading. I want to change this to read more, let's say. So read more. And as if by magic, it does it for every single one of your posts that's showing in this block. Really, really handy. You can also make that larger if you would like, or not. Text color, once again, you can hide the date, the category, author, author avatar, that kind of thing. I am going to hide my avatar, and it can show posts and pages. So you get the idea there. You've got your blog post page. You can add the blog post block and play with the settings however you would like, depending on how much you want to show on that page, the images, how much of your post content you want to show, and various grid arrangements and list arrangements. It's super handy, super customizable, and I think one of my favorite blocks. It's really, really fun to play with. So with that in mind, let's move on to the third thing that we mentioned at the beginning of this webinar, which is the, I promise not very scary, query loop block. What on earth is a query loop block? So it's similar to the blog post block, but there is a slightly different design to it, and you'll see what I mean when I get to the demo page for that block. It is slightly more limited in what it can display. So where the post carousel and the blog posts block can show things like post pages, portfolio projects, and that kind of thing, this is limited to only posts and pages. It is very flexible, but it's also a little bit more complex. Nothing we can't handle, though, I promise. We'll take a look at what it's able to do in just a moment. And for this block specifically, it is available for both WordPress.com and self-hosted WordPress users. So everyone can find this in their dashboard, in their pages and post section. You can choose the query loop block and play with it as much as you would like. So with that in mind, we have a nice breakdown for you. What does query loop mean? A query is a question, right? It's another word for question. So basically, when you add this block to a page, you are asking the system, the technology, a question. In this case, it's WordPress, show me the blog posts under, say you had a travel category. It would show you those posts. And the loop is the system thinking about your question and giving you the answer to it. So if the term ever sounds a little bit scary or intimidating, I know it can sometimes, think about it that way. The query loop is a block that you can ask a question to, and it will give you the answer to that question in the form of your posts. So hopefully that makes sense and kind of demystifies it a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and demo how that will look on your page, and if you want to use it to display your blog posts, what you can do with that in terms of customizability. So let's go back here. I'm not going to save that either. I'm going to go down here to the query loop demo. There's a lot of chatter going on in the chat. I love to see it, by the way. And thank you for your questions so far. All right, let's see. I better not get distracted by questions while I'm demoing. Okay, so once again here, we have a blank page for the query loop. That's all we're going to add for now. So this time, I've shown you a few ways to add a block. Let's go back to the / method. I'm just going to go ahead and add a query loop block to this page. So / query loop. There it is, right there. And I'm going to click it. And when you click it, not a lot happens, but we will make some things happen. Don't worry about that. What I want to do to begin with is I want this block to choose a pattern for me. So that's what we're going to do. I am not going to start blank. I'm going to go to choose, if it'll let me click. And this window pops up. It's going to have to think about it a little bit, I think. Especially because I'm presenting to you right now, my internet is chugging. It's loading everything as quickly as it can, but we'll do our best. So you can choose different patterns for your query loop to display your blog posts. You can't see them too well here. So what I'm going to do is switch to the grid view and let it load very slowly. Oh, not too slowly. It's pretty good. So you have various patterns here. I'll just scroll through briefly. I already know which one I want to use, but just so you get an idea. So the query loop block, I know it looks like it leaves you hanging when you add it to a page, but if you click that choose button, it will take you to your patterns and you can choose a pattern. So I am going to go for this one right here that shows 3 across. And it does it for me straight away. Wonderful. What I want to do before we go into the real meat of how you can customize this block is once again, take a look at the block settings. So over here, it tells us we're in a query loop. You have some layout things that you can change here. If you want your content to be wider or narrower, you can change it in pixels here. You can also change the justification, which it may not show on the editor, but on your live site, it probably would. It's currently center justified. But the idea here is compare this in your mind to the customization you saw for the post carousel and the customization that you saw for your blog post block. Not so much, right? And that's kind of by design. It's kind of limited in terms of the block settings, but that's okay. What we're going to do is, I opened up the list view earlier, which is once again very handy for showing the hierarchy of all the blocks that you have on a page. The query loop is a block that's made up of blocks. And you'll see what I mean when I open it up in just a second. You can see here, you've got your image, you've got your title, you've got your expert. These are all blocks that are showing within the query loop block. So what I'm going to do right now is click on the list view, which says document overview. And you'll see here, it says very clearly query loop. I'm going to open that up and show you what's within this. So this little arrow here, click here, you can see you have your post template. And here it is. So you've got here your post template, your featured image, which it's kind of, hopefully you can see that. It's got a little blue border around it. Your post title, which also has a blue border around it, the excerpt, post date, and these are all separate blocks. Why is this cool? Because you can rearrange them and you can add different blocks to this. So what do I want to do here? I think I want to maybe put the post title above the featured image and maybe add another piece of content to this that might be useful. So I am going to click on the post title and hopefully you'll be able to see this when I do it. I'm going to, not do that. I'm going to click on the post title and I'm going to drag it up so it's above the featured image. Let's hope it works. So click and hold and drag. You can see that line there, right? It's showing you where I'm about to drop it. So, and there it is. By magic, your post title is now above your featured image. And you'll notice it did that for every single one of the posts within the query loop block. So that's the kind of customization that you can do for this block. You can add different kind of post elements within the template, and it will reflect for all of the posts within that block. So I think I also want to add the author information, and I want to put that just underneath the featured image. I'm going to go ahead and do that. So if I click on the featured image here and the 3 dots next to it, I'm going to insert after, and it says paragraph for now, but it's going to hopefully show me my post author name in just a second. So I'm going to / post author. Perfect. Click on that. And it's done it for every single post. You can see there is my very imaginative demo name. And you can put a byline there. You can drag this up and down and just generally rearrange your content within the query loop block however you would like. What else can we do here? So remember I said that within the query loop block, it's made up of blocks. You can change block settings, right? So while the query loop block itself doesn't have a ton of settings, the blocks within it do. Let me show you what I mean. I'm going to close the list view. I'm actually no, maybe I'll keep it open so I can show you which blocks I'm clicking on. I'm going to select the query loop. And now take a look on the right-hand side. You'll see our limited settings here, right? Can't do too much with it. It's fine. What I want to do is change the size of the post title, for instance. So let me go ahead and click on the post title. And if you look on the right-hand side, the settings have changed, which is really, really handy. It's the same as a regular heading block. You would have the different settings there where you can change the site title size, the color, whatever you would like. I'm just going to change the size for now. So it's already extra large, but I was going to make it larger. For the purposes of this, let's make it medium. And there you can see it does it for all of your displayed posts. Got a bit smaller, back to extra large, that kind of thing. And you can do it for every single block that's within the query loop. So featured image, you can change the overlay, you can add a color on top, make it all kind of dark and opaque like this. That's terrible. I'm not going to save these changes. And that kind of thing. So hopefully you get the idea. So just to recap, the query loop block is the thing that, you ask a question to and it answers you with the blog posts. The loop block itself does not have a ton of settings, but the blocks within it do have a ton of settings that you can change. Hopefully that makes sense. I know it's a quick rundown, but just to give you an idea. So with that in mind, I know that was a whirlwind tour through our various things that we can do in terms of displaying blog posts. So we're going to review what we've talked about in the last little while about what you can do in terms of customizing your blog posts. So with every theme that you apply to your site, there is a post page template built in. You can use that if you like, it's totally fine, but there are other ways to customize, such as the post carousel block, which is a slideshow for your blog posts and a great way to just showcase to visitors what it is you write about, images, that kind of thing. You also have the blog post block, which creates a list of posts on any page. You can add that block to absolutely any page you like, even to the home page if you would like. And you can rearrange it in various ways to display the content. And you also have the query loop block, which is quite a powerful block, but nothing we can't handle. And it also displays a list of posts, but it is customizable in an even more fine way, I suppose you say. I'm not sure if there's a better way to phrase that, but just more details, I suppose, can be moved and customized with the query loop block. So thank you so much for coming with me on that whirlwind tour of our various post options in terms of what you can display, how you can customize things. I am going to take a quick look in the chat and the Q&A at what we have here. I see we have a question. Which template is the default blog post? A single blog alternative or something else? Thank you for that question, Jacob. Let's go on an adventure. Let's go see what template is being used for the default blog post. This is actually just quite useful information in general, so maybe it's worth keeping in mind. I'm going to go back to, of course, once again, I'm not saving my terrible changes that I've made to these images. I am going to go back. I'm going to also close all of my Zoom windows that I have open. Yes, so I'm going to go back here. We want to know what template is being used for the default post page that I mentioned at the beginning. To do that, I am going to go down here to default blog page, give that a click, let it load. And if you direct your attention to that really super handy settings bar on the right-hand side, you'll see here under summary, you've got template. And right here, it will tell you the name of the template that's being used for that post page. So it is on this theme, it's page. It may be different for other themes. It kind of depends what you're using. They may use different terminology, but this template that's being used for the default blog page is called page. Very imaginative. But yes, that's how you would check. And with that knowledge, if you want to edit that template, you can do so in the site editor. We have a really great site editor webinar. If you haven't seen it, we did our first one a few days ago. But if you're interested in learning a bit more about the site editor, if you have one of our newer block themes and you've seen the editor tool and you're not sure how to use it, please go ahead and take a look at that webinar because it goes into a lot of detail about templates, what they are, how you can use them, and how you can edit them. I hope that helped. Jacob, thank you so much for your question. Any other questions that anyone has? We have about 5 minutes. I did a lot of talking. I know I have a cup of tea over here somewhere that I can't reach. But if there's anything else that's coming to mind for you currently, let me know. If there's anything that I can quickly demo for you that I may have zipped through. I feel like the query loop block is probably the most complex, but I hope I've broken it down for you in a way that makes sense. So, the terminology query loop, don't be worried about that. All you need to know is that you can ask it a question, it will show you the blog posts, and then within that block, you can edit the other little template blocks and just rearrange things, change things, make things different colors. It's super customizable in that way. I know Jerry's also sharing with you there in the chat. If there's anything that you've missed, we also have a replay of this that will be on YouTube after this is all over. So definitely check that and pause if you need, write notes, anything you need. Ooh, we have a lot of questions. Jacob, you're on fire today. What do we got here? Thanks. Is there a good resource for learning how to create templates for blog posts? How to create templates? That I'm not sure. I don't know if we have anything in our WordPress.com documentation just yet. I can give you a really quick demo of how you would maybe go about that. Once again, the site editor webinar is useful for that. So I'd recommend you sign up and give that a watch. Yeah, I just looked at your second question, Jacob. Yes, you're right. That would be the site editor webinar that I just mentioned. We go into depth about the templates into that section and look at each one and what it looks like and how you edit it. So yeah, I would say, especially because we have 3 minutes left, I don't know if I can demo it fast enough. So definitely give the site editor webinar a try. I think that's worth doing. Thank you for your questions though. And Lisa, I think we have time for one more question. I'm very new to website admin, having inherited the responsibility at work, which is a church. I have attended 2 other webinars this week. What is the benefit or non-benefit to being self-hosting? Oh, that's a big question. I would say if you're comfortable with deeper sort of coding and technical stuff, self-hosting can be really good for that because it gives you the freedom to kind of tinker around with code. But I would say, if you're just taking over with admin for your site and you're kind of figuring out how things work, WordPress.com is a really, really great option because we are self-contained. We manage your site for you. There's no intense coding involved. A lot of the blocks you need to create your site are available and you can just drop them into your pages and your templates. And of course, we're always here to help you. So nothing can be broken too hard that we can't fix, I say with my fingers crossed. So it depends what your aim is and what you're comfortable with in terms of technical knowledge. But if you want any further guidance on that, please email us at help@wordpress.com and we'll be happy to answer any more of your questions, especially on the WordPress.com side of things, and hopefully help you make your decision there. Thanks, Lisa. All right, we have 2 minutes left. I know that's barely any time for any other questions. So I'm going to slowly start wrapping things up. If something comes through in the meantime, you're welcome, Lisa. I'm so glad I could clarify that for you. If anything else comes through in the meantime, I'll talk slowly. But thank you so much, everybody, for coming to this webinar today. I hope you learned something. I hope you are encouraged to give our various blocks a try. And just play around with whatever works for you in terms of your layouts, your blog post block, your post carousel, and try the query loop. I think you'll have fun. Don't worry about breaking it too much. And yeah, with that in mind, have a great wonderful rest of your day, morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world. Once again, the replay of this webinar will be up on our YouTube channel, so please check it out if there's anything that you missed. We'll be back with you again in February. It's almost February now, so please look forward to new content. I'll leave this Zoom open for a little bit, and thank you so much again. We'll see you again soon. Bye.